Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Signal conversation for May 2022. I'm Lauren Barrick, the managing editor of Signal360, and I'm here with co-founders and co-editors-in-chief, John Battelle and Stan Joosten. Welcome to you both.
Welcome, Lauren, and welcome on board as the new Signal managing editor, Signal360 managing editor. I know we have a whole plan of new and exciting stories for the next few months, so thank you already for getting out of the gate so fast.
Well, I'm excited to get started. So I think we're going to talk a little bit right now about the 11th annual Signal conference, which has been announced. And it's been scheduled as a hybrid event in July in Cincinnati. And we have a theme: learn, lead, and build. And I wanted to talk to both of you guys and see what does that mean for the conference this year, and how has the conference evolved over the last few years?
Well, I'll start. The process of coming up with a theme is something we start almost after, immediately after the conference ends. We start thinking about what would the theme be for the next year, but we can't really set it until early the year of the conference, so January, February. And this year we did make something of a tone shift, if you will. Last year's conference theme, for example, was always learning, always leading. And we kind of went more direct and more imperative, if you will, by changing the form of the words, learn, lead, and build. And the build part is obviously the most important and differentiating between this year and last year. It's an attempt to inspire people to go do things with what they learn, and to be leaders and to go build things, which is a big theme for P&G this year.
Yeah, and to build on that, pun intended, we're going back to our roots a little bit, because when we started the Signal conference, it was intended to accelerate our journey into digital marketing at the time. We're looking back to 2012, right? And so this was a very focused conference at that point in time, where we really deliberately wanted to light some fires and to go do something. And after a fantastic 10th anniversary, which we always say is like, we did 15 hours of live TV programming, basically, right? With all kinds of great moments in there. We wanted to do what I had called a little bit, and I date myself with that, a Signal unplugged, which is like MTV. Eric Clapton is my idol there, right? But a little bit more, even more Signal than what we usually have, very deliberately on key focus areas. The focus not on creating per se. That was the other nuance that we wanted to bring in. Creating means to do from scratch, but the other thing that many people inside of P&G realize is we already know a lot. We already see some of the things and do some of the things that we want to push on. And so that word build is even a double underlined. Go do the things that we already know how to do to a certain extent and learn more about that, right? We don't necessarily, everybody has to create new things from the very beginning.
How is this new hybrid kind of structure going to work? And how are you going to program the event differently? Because now we're actually able to kind of go from all virtual to this kind of flow between the two.
Yeah, and in some ways, organizing the Signal conference has been a little bit of a microcosm where everybody, has been swimming in the last 2 years. 2 years ago, we had to step on the brakes with all our preparation when it hit March of 2020. So it's like, we're not going to do this in person. It's like, we go, now what, right? And it took us a little while to discover that. And so people think now that we know how to do in person, how to do virtual, and that it is all easy to bring that all together. It's a whole new puzzle to solve, right? And every year there's a little bit more of a puzzle in this one. It's like, what does hybrid really, really mean, right? We gained a lot of audience over the last 2 years. To go back into an auditorium where the capacity is 400 some people would mean leaving lots of people behind, which we on purpose do not want to do, right? But we do want to create an in-person element out of this, because what we missed most, and many of the other people are the connections that were made, the little sparks outside of a conference center. We usually had the speaker dinner, and some interesting discussions took place there. So we want to bring some of that back, but not leave the wider audience behind in that adventure as well. So we kind of split the bill here with an interesting connection point in the middle. So the morning session is going to be fully virtual, and we'll bring in all the audiences from where we brought them in. The afternoon, we're going to be in person. We're going to be very deliberate about that. That's going to be the high touch part of the conference. And then at night, we are going to repeat what we started 2 years ago, the Asia edition. Many people in Asia are looking forward to seeing and hearing Signal. And it's not easy for people to travel that far, and not in the numbers that we've seen. So we want to definitely do that. And what we make the centerpiece is a physical place in the geo, which is outside of the auditorium, called the Rotunda, where we really want to make an event space where the virtual and the physical come together. So that's the high concept design. Now we'll see whether it works, which is always a bit of a gamble when you try something new. But if we are the innovation conference, we might as well start with ourselves.
100%. It's a challenge that is really interesting to take on. Even when you're programming elements that are entirely virtual, you want to imagine how a in-person crowd might respond to that, and vice versa. If you're doing something in person, you want to think about how it plays and is received by people who are online half a world away. And so I think we've done all of this in pieces, but we're all pulling it together. And I think the program that Stan laid out, which we really have to give a lot of credit to our partner Stacy for imagining, is going to be a great day. It's going to be a very long and full day, starting early in the morning, ending late at night. But one full day of a hybrid programming environment. I'm really excited about it, and I can't tell you how excited I am to be on premise, with speakers there, with an audience there, and that wonderful rotunda kind of lit up as the central, discussion and engagement hub for the whole thing.
Is there any insight we can hear about, like a little kind of, hint of like some of the topics or the content areas we're going to be talking about at the conference?
We certainly have our four key pillars, if you will, the topic areas that we're focused on, which are the exact same topic areas that we're focused on for Signal360 for the publication that you run, Lauren. And we're in the very middle of identifying and recruiting all the speakers who will speak to those key topics. So I think what we can certainly do is tell you what those topics are. I'll take a couple, Stan, you can take a couple. The first is what Stan referred to. We began as a digital conference. We've always discussed the near present and any innovations in digital that might be here now or unevenly distributed. So the state of digital is one of our key pillars, and that crosses a lot of different subtopics, if you will, including where are we in advertising and marketing, where are we in e-commerce, what are the implications of new consumer behaviors that are emerging in digital, what are really interesting companies in the space that might have a significant impact on our business going forward. So that's the state of digital. Another really important key pillar, and this really broke through last year in the conference, is sustainability, and environmental sustainability, and how does a large company innovate in packaging, in supply chain, in how it works with its vendors to eliminate waste, to reduce water use, and try to hit some pretty big goals in terms of the shift in how we all do business. So state of digital and sustainability, first two pillars. Stan, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, sure. And by the way, all these elements collide in very interesting ways, like environmental sustainability and supply chain reinvention, right? So I think we're still in the midst of learning how we have assumed that just things in supply chain work, right? And when they don't, they don't. And we are now in the midst of reinventing how we can make them more robust, resilient. and it's really a dramatic change that is shaping the world, and it meets digital in many ways. It meets environmental concerns. It meets geopolitical concerns. So never has supply chain been so at the center of innovation, as in my lifetime at least. And it deserves the focus that we'll give it at the conference. It is not an area where we can just assume it works anymore. And so the best companies that will move forward will lead in reinventing supply chain. It will also lead to dramatic reinventions of consumer experiences. Right, last mile has always been a prominent topic, right? And the last one, but certainly not the least, is in this day and age where we've just recently done an article about the Great Resignation, as it was dubbed, but how can a company be attractive to people to work there, right? What we would call superior employee experiences. And what it turns out, it is so much more than just compensation. Actually, I'm proud to say that we play a little role at P&G with Signal in that as well, because very few companies can pull off what we do with Signal in a way that people can learn collectively and have these discussions with so many parties from the outside. So we provide even some value in that. But what else is there that attracts and retains the talent that a company needs of the caliber of P&G and many others? But let me turn the tables a little bit. What topics are you most excited about that we can bring to the fore, especially, you're in the driver's seat when it comes to the editorial planning for Signal 360. What would you like to see spill over from those plans into the Signal conference?
I think besides the metaverse, which I'm and Web3, I think I really do want to hear quite a bit more about supply chain and sort of that kind of link between that and environmental sustainability. I think those are going to be two really important areas for us at Signal 360 coming up for the year. And also, I just think, altruistically, those are important focuses for us, as on the earth. So I'm going to be excited to hear about some innovation that you guys are going to be talking about on those fronts. And I don't think we're going to be hearing the last. I know we just did that piece on the Great Resignation, but I don't think we're anywhere, outside of hearing about that for probably at least a year or two, about how employees are really, and what their wants are really transforming the workplace and transforming companies. And I think that's definitely, a big shift in how companies have to respond to that. So I'm kind of excited to hear about all of that. I mean, I'm literally excited to hear about everything. So, but I think those areas in particular will be great for people who are attending the conference, but they're going to be particularly fascinating for us at Signal 360, for us to be talking about that and sharing that with everybody as well.
Yeah, I think you'll get a lot of really good ideas from the speakers. And the folks that we have confirmed, many of them are going to speak directly to those topics. And I would say almost all of them, as Stan pointed out earlier, are going to cross, 3 or 4 of the pillars, and be able to speak to employee experience, to state of digital, to sustainability, and to the supply chain. So all 4 topics are very, connected.
Well, I'm definitely excited to hear about how this is all going to come together, and to see the program when we finally get a chance to see it. And so I just want to hear some last details. I think everybody listening is going to want to actually know, how can they register, and can people still submit speaker or topic suggestions if they'd like?
Sure. Let me start with the registration part, and John can fill in the speaker and topic side. So registration will officially start June the 1st, and all subscribers of Signal 360 will automatically be included in the invites for the virtual portion of the program. The in-person program is focused on P&G employees who are based in Cincinnati. Some others can fly in, of course, as well. The virtual session at night also is open to everybody who is a Signal 360 subscriber to follow.
And then we are absolutely open to as many ideas as people care to give us. There's going to be a point at which we have to close the program and get it all ready for pre-production and then production. But please send us as many ideas as you can.
Well, thanks guys for filling us in on the conference. If you haven't yet, signed up for our newsletter at Signal360 and take a look at, we're going to have some great stories coming out at our next issue. So thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Great. See you all on July 13th.